Welcome to the Broken&Unseen podcast. Today we have a very special episode, and joining me for the conversation today is Santana, of course, Grambalo, and myself, Joel. And there are some football stories that end with trophies, some end with legends, and then there are some stories that remind us that behind every shot, every goal, and every dream is a human being. And today's story is one of those touching stories. Um, Abdelhak Nouri wasn't just another talented footballer, he was the heartbeat of Ajax's next generation. He was a captain, he was a leader, a young man many believed would one day become one of the best midfielders in Europe, if not the world. He had done everything right. He chased the dream, he sacrificed, and his family sacrificed as well. And yeah, in a single moment, everything changed. And we've seen so many situations like this in football. And I don't think it's because he lacked the talent. It's not because he stopped believing, but because life can change in an instant. And so today we are not here just to talk about goals or trophies or the World Cup that just passed or transfer records, transfer fees. We are here to remember a young man whose dream was interrupted far too soon and to ask ourselves what his story can teach every player, every parent, and every football fan. So this is exactly why the Broken and Unseen podcast was started by myself and Big Sam. And today, my brothers are here, Santana, Grambalo. So welcome to the story of Abdelhak Nouri and welcome to the Broken and Unseen podcast. So guys, let's go straight into it. My first question is going to be, or the first point of discussion is going to be, what's the biggest lie football sells to young players? Let's just discuss for a few minutes. Let's just discuss what's the biggest lie that football sells to young players. I mean, I'll go first. I think everyone says whatever you believe in, you can achieve, which is true. But to an extent, I think when it comes to sport, something that is physical activity. You have the belief, you have the discipline, you can have everything it takes, but at any point, you can have an injury. And I had one myself, and or what happened to Nuri, it can all be taken away in an instant. So, and I think that's a lie that football sells to young players. You know, I mean, today we are talking about a young man who did everything possibly right. He had good family backing, and he came up in the ranks of one of the best football academies in the world, Ajax Amsterdam, but he still lost everything. So, in my opinion, that's, if not the biggest, I mean, one of the biggest lies that football tells to young players. So, guys, I don't know what you think. I don't know what your opinion is. Like, Santana, let me hear from you. What do you think?
Um, it's quite an emotional topic for me. For 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 me to give my point of view as per this particular topic on this platform, we are on the Broken and Unseen. It's quite emotional for me because the truth is, football doesn't tell you this other part of life, this other part of life which exists. You're going to be broken. There are some who have stories we don't know. And sadly enough, Nuri's case, if you're not a football fan, if you're not really into football, you would not know. But It is quite painful that a man of such talent, a man of such skills, a young man of such who is gifted could pass away just like that. And we are on a Broken and Unseen uh, podcast, which is a platform for us to share issues like this. And I think football needs to educate, football needs to bring that reality that there's something negative, there's some painful part of this experience that you will not see physically. It might either just come to you, or you might just be a victim of it happening to you without any chance for you to fix it, like Nouri's case. That is what I think about all of this. It is quite painful, but it's reality.
Grandmalu.
Well, for me, it's a very sad situation. It's a situation of hope and pain. Hope because it did inspire a lot of people, and then pain because we never got to see how far this young man could have gone with his career. So it's a bit like my brother Santana said, it's an emotional situation for us all, especially football lovers, because I think that's a talent that was taken away from us. Unfortunately, he's never going to play this beautiful game again. But we can watch his videos, and then maybe our kid brothers can gain some inspiration from him, because I think he was really, really a very top talent. So
Yeah, and talking about talents. Talking about talents. Why is it that Ajax Amsterdam in particular keeps producing world-class players? Because we've seen the likes of, talking about Nouri, we've seen the likes of Nouri, we've seen the likes of Frankie de Jong. I mean, from our generation, because if you look back, you have the likes of Clarence Seedorf, Patrick Kluivert, Edgar Davids, and so many others before this generation. But we have Frankie de Jongs, the Delicts, the Nouris, and so many others that we know and we watch every week in, week out. So
I think with Ajax, I think it's kind of a tradition. I think if I should use my own words, it's to them it's a tradition, producing the best of the midfielders. The best of midfield. I want to be precise on midfielders, because if the list you have been, if you've caught 3 players or 5 players, 3 or 4 of them are midfielders. And Ajax has been producing the best from their academy to their first team. I think to me, it's just what they have been gifted with. It's just what God has blessed them with. Because
so
I don't know how else.
What makes their academy different? What makes their academy different from others?
It's
Grandpa,
no, but I think
what makes the academy different?
I think they work on it. Their system has been well arranged in such a way that the academy system is the best. If no, it's one of the best, because they produce the best of players who thrill this game. They train you from they take you when you are still very little, and they bring out your talent. I think they are good at bringing out the talent. Let me put it that way. I think that's just their gift.
For me, I think the first and very important point about Ajax is their trust in youth development. They trust in the young players. It's an institution that they don't just believe in spending millions, but rather they invest in their development of young talent. You understand? Like from it's very easy for us to instill knowledge when they are still young. And that's what Ajax do. They like youth development. They have been doing this for decades, and it has been successful. That's their strategy, youth development. I think that's why you see They have players like every year you see they keep on producing top talents from the academy. It's because of this belief of youth development.
So I mean, imagine you're 17 years old and you're the captain of Ajax's youth team, like Nouri was, or Frankie de Jong was, or De Ligt was, and then everyone says you're the next big thing. And like, how much pressure do you think that puts on a young player? I remember when we used to play with Tatikam, I remember when we qualified for mini doubles. Before every game, everyone was telling you, Balo, today we need to win. Today we need to win. And back then, you were already more than 15. So just imagine, if, let's say you are 17 now, all that pressure that is put on your shoulders. How much pressure do you think a young player can take on? And does it affect them negatively sometimes?
I think so. I think the responsibility meted on some of these youths, on some of these young players, influences their performance, their outcome, their productivity. Now, those who are not psychologically or mentally strong could have a breakdown. You get? Some could have a breakdown, and at the end of the day, don't live up to expectation because of the weight meted on them. But this is not a game for the faint-hearted, for the weak. But I feel like a guy like Nouri was ready. I think he was gifted and strong enough to face whatever future he was expected to face. But not drifting away from the topic, the pressure meted on this category of players could really affect their productivity, because he was young, 17, and he was a captain of their youth team. And we know Ajax, when we look at the best of youth teams, we know Ajax produces one of the best. They have one of the most competitive teams when it comes to the youth team. So I think a man in his position, a boy in his position and with such responsibility, had a lot of weight on his shoulders.
But also, I think most of these academies, I think they don't just train these guys to become amazing footballers. They also instill a lot of courage in them, because
Exactly.
if you remember the Champions League, was it the semi-finals, Tottenham against Ajax? I think the oldest person on the pitch was Dusan Tadic back
Yes.
then. And De Ligt was the captain, and he was, if not 19 or so, I can't remember exactly. Yeah. So just imagine, I think also they instill that courage in them. So, I mean, but I think you could also say that sometimes we forget that these boys are still, coming up and all. Yeah. But then also, like, if we really look back, because watching Nouri's highlights, his videos, I think he was a combination of Mesut Ozil, Paul Pogba, Frankie de Jong in one person. So do you guys think he could have been better than de Jong?
Joel, I cannot.
It's a
cannot really say,
conversation, bro.
You
It's
called
a
the best.
conversation. We are on the podcast.
You've mentioned one of the best. You mentioned the best of them in the league, but with watching his videos and the little I know about him, he was a prospect for something good, for something the world would have been happy to watch over and over.
That's true.
But no matter, I still believe in the in the idea that no matter what pressure is meted on you as a player, as a young player, they are building you. They are building you for what lies ahead of you. Because trust me, football we are building, the football we watch today is one which we don't look at age, we look at what you have, what you have. We saw a young man of barely 17 or 19 control
70.
Spain's defense, World Cup finals, all through the competition and the World Cup finals.
Cuba.
Kuwasi.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the age doesn't really matter. It is what you have to give. And I'm sure he must have developed his courage from watching his seniors like the Ramos, the Piquets,
Piqué.
the Puyols. He got his inspiration from them. And the pressure sitting wearing someone as great as that, sitting on that one person's seat makes you think beyond your age. And so I feel like the age is not really the problem. But Nouri was ready. Trust me, I'll say that at 17 he was ready to play for the first team because he was already the leader of the team. And
Yeah.
he didn't just prove it, off the pitch, he proved it on the pitch. We saw it. We have videos, there are videos of it. The whole world remembers him for that. So I feel like, well,
And I think from when you hear from testimonies from his teammates at the time, Frankie de Jong and the rest, they all say they all talk about how good he was. So, Graham Malo, who does his playing style
I
remind
think,
you of?
yeah. Joel, as per your question about everyone saying he was going to be the next superstar, I think first we forget about social media today. Every mistake becomes headline. There's a lot of pressure, and you see it does affect players' confidence and their mental health. Everybody wants you to be the next Messi. They want you to be the next Ronaldo. So that I think that's why you see a lot of prospect they don't get to that level, because there's a lot of pressure, a lot of social media banter, a lot of, like, every mistake it's a criticism. So we can't really tell about him being the next superstar, but the talent was there. He had everything to be the next superstar, but we can't really for sure say he was gonna be better than the young, the lead, but the talent was there. He had the talent.
Joel, before you
So
before you
who
go to the
does?
next, Joel, before you go, I you you two were some inspiration to you two used to be you used to be inspiration to to some until you got broken, until you all got broken. You were not seen to. So I think this is a platform for me to advertise, to tell the world, those who are watching, the viewers, that you two were in some situation like this. We were expecting something different, but
Joel, I always told him he was gonna be the next Platini.
yeah, but he got broken. And
Got broken.
I still wish to see you two play someday. Like,
We
let's.
have a very interesting viewer. I think we both know him, Young B. Every time we release a video, his first comment is, "You guys need to tell the world why you didn't play football." That's always
At least someone
every
shares my
time he
thoughts.
sees
Someone
our
shares my
video.
thoughts. Because
Every time he sees our video, his first comment, "Tell the world why you didn't play football."
the world might not know, but there are a few people who know how good you two were. How good you. And Balo, you still play football. You still play
Sure.
football, like, but not competitive football anyway. You
Yeah.
do it for fun. Joel here he's in the middle. He's in the middle. I don't think he can actually beat his chest and say that he's ready to get into the pitch and play because of issues beyond his control. injuries.
Right,
And
right.
that's
That's
why we
true.
have we have a platform like the Broken and Unseen for such stories. But then I think what we watched, the life or the experience you all have had is something you have in stock for the younger generation. And I will urge you all to pass down this wisdom, because there's nothing too small. There's nothing too small. There's no experience too small. It can change a whole narrative and a whole generation.
That's true.
You guys did good, and you guys should share it. You guys should tell it to the world.
Yeah, I mean that's why we started the podcast. So anyway, back to Nuri. When just imagine that it's we are watching a normal preseason game, and out of nowhere, one of the most promising players on earth collapses, and that's the end. Imagine you're one of his teammates, like you're watching what's happening. Balo, what's going through your mind watching him?
I'm gonna start with a real life experience. When I was playing with PWD, I think we had a game against Stade Renard at the Bamenda Municipal Stadium. I witnessed, I think, almost identical situation with my teammate, Bastos. You know, in moments like that, like rivalries disappear, everybody becomes one. Like you guys are, your thoughts become one at that moment. You're not fighting to win the game. Now you're fighting for a friend to survive. Bro, I don't think you wanna experience a moment like that. You don't know, like you don't even know if he's gonna make it, if he's gonna die. That moment you just want him to be alive. It's a scary moment. You don't wish for your enemy.
Uh, it's tough, man. Like this morning, I was watching videos. You know, once in a while, the Ajax, the ultras, they go to where his parents stay, and they put up banners, and they are singing outside, hoping he would wake up and say something to them. You know, it just reminds us that uh,
This
there's
incident I'm
more to
talking about,
football.
it happened right in front of me, and I was
Yeah.
the first to run away because when I watch, when I turn and I look at him, his tongue was outside already. I didn't even know what to do. It happened right in front of me. Thankfully, because you know situations like this do happen because of lack of paramedics, good emergency services on the pitch. I tell you this without mixing my words. Without the quick intervention of the Stade Renard medical staff, I think the story would have been different. Because at that moment, we didn't even know what to do. Stade Renard, our opponent, they saved his life.
I
Before our
think
doctor
that should
got
be,
there,
yeah.
before the doctors of our team got there, they already started with the first aid before they rushed him to the general hospital.
I think that should be another point of conversation, because in Europe, I remember when I was playing in Romania, there used to be like before the season starts, they used to bring like seasoned paramedics to come and just train the whole team on an emergency situation, resuscitating someone. And so I think these are things that are ignored, especially
Yeah.
where we come from. So I think that's something that should be considered, especially in Africa. Like teams should be, no matter the level, teams should be educated on how to handle a situation like this, because in a minute a player can lose his life. But meanwhile, if there was someone who knows what to do, the situation can be different.
Personally, Gambalo, I think football, although we don't wish for such things in the game. That's why I guess the football managing body has not put rules for such. But I feel like the game should end. Each game that has such a situation should stop completely, because it plays on it affects the outcome.
Psychology.
It affects the outcome of the game. Like the remainder of the game, it affects all the play. I don't think anyone will be okay watching, having seen their friend, their brother, their colleague die instantly in front of them, and then they are still okay to play. I think soldiers can go ahead and fight, but soldiers also feel bad. They tend to retreat a little, but not with players, because football goes with emotions. I don't feel like any player will be able to push further. I feel like they should come up with, if something like that happens, they should stop the game, because I cannot stand it. With the way I love football, as a fan, I cannot continue to watch a game. Talk less of those actually the actors on the field. It's such a painful situation. I would not wish for anyone to find themselves in. And imagine those kids, 17-year-old boys running, trying to entertain the world, and then one of them falls off on the pitch. I can just imagine how it falls on them, but it's life.
So I saw reports. I saw reports on the internet that Ajax later accepted responsibility for shortcomings in the emergency medical response.
Yeah.
So apparently,
I read something this morning about Ajax medical staff taking 7 minutes before attending to him on the pitch. It took the medical staff 7 minutes.
7 minutes. Yeah,
I think those 7 minutes were vital.
They were very vital.
Maybe if they attended earlier to him, the situation would have been different. But we never can tell.
But then,
just
my question.
I think it's the same situation. It's the same situation with if you remember back in 2003 when Mark Vivian Foué died. I think I don't know if it's one of the players or one of the medical staff who was in the game, and one of them said when he fell, he was on the floor for more than a minute before he was attended to. And even when he was attended to, it wasn't really as swift as it was supposed to be. You never know, his life might have been saved. So I don't know, like, should every professional stadium or every team, no matter the level, have emergency standards regardless? Like FIFA should FIFA have rules in place? Like before every game, it doesn't matter if it's first league, second league, third, 4, 5, 6. So long as it's a registered game, emergency services should be available and ready to help. Is that something that should be a rule?
I think that is what they portray. I think that is what they already have in place. But in reality, the palliative treatment set aside for this emergencies, I think they don't handle all situations. Like Nouri's case, we are talking about his heart just stopped. I don't know if there's any kind of emergency standard set in place to handle a heart situation in the middle of the pitch. I don't think so. So I feel like instead of just sending a few men running into the pitch, there should be a stand. I know that there is always a standby ambulance, which is kind of an emergency room too, always ready outside. But what determines that this situation is one which should be taken straight into this van. That is the problem, and that is where we see the expertise, we see the technical know-how of the medical staff that are available. And unfortunately, some of them take quite a while to determine if this situation is very, very.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That's the point I'm trying to make. It should be a rule. Like FIFA should set this as a rule, because if from what I was reading this morning, Nouri suffered a severe cardiac arrest. Why?
Yes.
Because it caused permanent damage to his brain. And that, I'm not a medical professional, but I know that happens if there is lack of oxygen.
Yes.
So just imagine, like, it's like I was reading, it says like the lack of immediate and adequate medical treatment on the pitch resulted in prolonged oxygen deprivation to his brain. And Ajax later admitting that liability for the inadequate on-field medical care and reached a financial settlement with the family. The financial settlement will not bring him back to his normal state, covering his ongoing medical bills and retiring his jersey. That it's noble to retire his jersey, but at the same time, the damage has already been done. So just imagine, after the collapse, he spent over 2 years in a medically induced coma, which he eventually woke up from in, I think it was 2020, and he's recovering. And if by some chance he watches this podcast, I just want to, wish him all the best, him and his family, and may God bless them. And I know what it means. I know what it means to have a dream. I know what it means to have a dream, and because of circumstances beyond your reach, the dream is broken. So, guys, I think FIFA needs to do more. Put a lot of emphasis on emergency services when it comes to football matches. It doesn't matter what level.
That's true.
So we often talk about football players and we ignore their families. Balo, I think we were talking about Toni Kroos retiring because he wanted to spend more time with his family. A few weeks back, we were having this conversation because we were like, he could still play even for the next 4 years. Modric is still playing, controlling the midfield in the World Cup, and he's 40. So what about the players' families? Just imagine your son leaves home like Nouri and he comes back. He doesn't come back. You have to go take care of him in the hospital. And what happens when everything changes? Like, how do you even begin to cope with something this tragic? I remember when I called Santana. I don't even think, was it me who called you and told you I was injured? I can't remember. So just imagine, I don't know how you're feeling at the time, but just imagine you're a parent and you're having to deal with your son being in a medically induced coma. How do you even begin to deal with that?
Bro, honestly, I can't imagine that pain. Seriously. 1 minute you are celebrating with your brother, your son, talking about the future, and then by evening you are praying for his life, bro. It's something you can't even process. You can't even process it, bro. You're making plans with your brother. When you get to this level, I'm gonna do this to mom, do this to that, and then the next minute you're praying for his life, begging God for him just to be alive. You don't even care about football at that moment. You don't want him to play football. You just want him to be alive. Bro, this is how life it is. Like, it's everything.
The truth is, I think I have a little experience about this, like Joel said, because there is no way you can actually ever prepare a family's mind or a loved one's mind about such situations. Remember, football doesn't have any clause or contract anywhere that mentions in case of death or in case of no. Injuries are normal. Injuries could be pain, so just normal pain you get from the field, like maybe a little fracture. Fractures are severe a little, but when we are talking of situations like this, no family member is ever ready. no family member is ever ready. Imagine leaving the house or leaving for a game and we are all happy and we are watching, and then the next minute there is a broken bone. Your nephew, there's a chance, there is a very slim chance you'll be able to walk again, not to talk of playing again. You'll not be able to play. There's a slim chance of you walking again. And then we have a situation of someone who falls immediately and dies. It is catastrophic. It is catastrophic. It is a situation where no one wants to find themselves. No one wants to be in such a situation. It is very, very painful. It automatically moves from a game of joy to maybe we start moving to a church service or whatever, because prayers and we are praying for the medical staff who are going to handle the situation. You are praying for the life of it's a very pathetic situation. It's a very it's very painful. I don't think any family member wants to find themselves in that situation. Joel's situation is from a I was way back in Cameroon, and he's very far. He's very far away from. Imagine being called and told that, hey, your brother is down. Or you as a mother, you see that, and then you're called, your son is down. This is the situation. We are moving him. He cannot talk. If your mother is called, your son cannot talk. Or your mother is called, hey, your son he's just been injured. His leg is broken. Now he's off right now. He cannot. It is a situation where no family member wants to find themselves. And I think just like the normal counselors will do, like trying to talk to the family. I think FIFA should also look into families like this, should be paid serious attention to, especially when it comes to situations of death. Families like this should be given extra concern, because it is painful losing someone to something they love, something they really love. They loved doing, something they have devoted their lives for. Anyways, that's life, like Grandma said.
You know, I still remember when I got injured. That's when you realize that football, because when everything is going fine, you're thinking your teammates are your friends, and but when you get injured, that's when you know that football is just a job. It's like you wake up every morning, you go to the job, and you come back home. Bro, I was in my apartment for a week. Nobody showed up for a week.
Life continued.
Nobody showed up after my injury. And I remember when I went to do my MRI, and I came back. So the next thing was I had to take the MRI to a doctor to check and tell me if, what's the situation. So the first doctor I went to, he looked at the MRI, he told me to forget about football. Straight up here, he told me to forget about football. And he said to me, he said he can do the surgery, but it's going to take me at least 2 years to be able to walk, talk less of running or playing again. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm still young. I still have dreams. What's this guy saying? So I said, no problem. I went to the next guy. And the next doctor told me he doesn't want to do the surgery. So the doctor who did the surgery now, he told me, nah, it's okay. He's going to do the surgery. I shouldn't worry. In about, between 6 to 9 months, I'll be able to play again. After the surgery, because usually when you get the surgery, especially like on your I don't know, when you have an ACL surgery, there are tubes that are put on your leg and to drain the blood. So these tubes were taken out after 2 days, but then the blood was still coming out. There was nowhere for the blood to go, so my knee started swelling, And every day the doctor will come and he will inject my knee and drain the blood. And bro, it was a horrible experience. It was an experience I wouldn't wish even on my worst enemy. I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. The pain was so severe that even the strongest painkiller you can think of didn't work on me. So what the doctor will do is like he will send the anesthetic doctor, the doctor who administers anesthesia, to come and give me, like, I don't know how, there was a medical term for it, like half anesthesia, so I could just sleep. And after about 2 weeks, it was unbearable. So he had to do another surgery to like clean the blood out. And I was in hospital for another 1 week. And then I was like, okay, now I can go. And I left. I went. I started to do rehab. I did recovery for about 2 months, but I didn't have complete flexion on my knee. So I had to come back for a third surgery just to make sure that I can have complete flexion on my knee to be able to play again. And yeah, man, it was. And sometimes as a human, you can just feel it like, no,
I'm done.
I told myself, yeah, it's done. It's done. I have tried. I've given my all. I've done my best, you know. That's why I still have the belief that it doesn't matter how disciplined you are. It doesn't matter how determined you are. It's a physical activity. If it can end at any time. That's so my advice to whoever is listening and has dreams of playing football, don't give up on your dream. Keep on going, but have it at the back of your mind that anything can happen. That's all I can say from experience. Anything can happen, but believe in your dreams. Go for your dreams. Don't let anyone discourage you. Don't let anyone stop you. But at the same time, always be prepared for what can happen. That's all I can say. So, guys, anyway, enough of my story. And I want us to, for the next minutes, just talk about what football injuries really mean to football players, like how a football player's career can change. Like, should football players be prepared in such cases? Like, should football players be prepared? Let's say you get injured and you cannot play anymore. How does an injury change the trajectory of a football player? What needs to be done at the level of maybe, I don't know, FIFA, UEFA? Personally, what needs to be done? Balo, go first.
I think you're muted.
Balo, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is, I think some clubs really do like a lot to take better care with players, their families, and their kids. But overall, I think football needs to do much better, especially when we talk about long term, because now they can't do anything for the rest of their life. So I think FIFA, football as a whole, needs to do something in the long term, maybe for their family, for their kids. So that's, for me, that's what I think. But some clubs, like I said earlier, some clubs, they really do much. They do much to follow up, take care of you, make sure your family is okay. Like for, so I don't know.
Okay. Um, I think our football, the football world we have today, or the administration of football, has set aside some level of qualification you are supposed to have as of to before you. I mean, you attain some level of professionalism before you. Before you play professional. If I for the Cameroon Elite One, I think you're supposed to, before you're an elite player, you're supposed to have at least an advanced level. An advanced level. I think that is a base. That is a base for a player to maybe kick off if football fails. If football fails, when I say football fails, I'm talking about injuries like this, injuries that you cannot perform anymore. I think football is not enough. It will not be enough because all you have is just past experience. You will either need to transit into some other kind of career, which is not what you're gifted with. Your legs, it is not, your legs cannot perform anymore. It means you have to use your brain. It is either something, it's either an art you learn or something else. Most of our players move into coaching. They move into coaching. And the advice I will give every player now is to prepare yourself for the worst. Prepare yourself for the worst. And preparing yourself for the worst means you have a secondary hustle. We advise them to go to schools. Education alone is a gift you have given yourself, because football ends. Even at the age of 45, you stop playing football. If you decide to retire at the age of 45, you still need to live. You still need to survive. You need something else. So I'll advise every young footballer out there, get yourself prepared for this particular part of life. It might come earlier due to injuries, but it might come during retirement. Regardless, you're still gonna face it. You're still gonna have to live that life, and you don't want to be a liability to the world. Every footballer has a family, and those who have to face this part of life at retirement already have kids, have families they have to take care of. But if it comes to you when you're way younger, you don't have a family yet, it means you have to fend. You have to look for money some other way to maybe start up a family and maybe take care of yourself. The best way is to be prepared and start preparing now, psychologically, and then putting in the work. I think I have a footballer. I have a former footballer who is now a database administrator. That's what he does.
So, Tana and Joy, I think I have one question for you. Does football forget players too quickly?
It does.
It does. Before Santana answers, I was reading a quote this morning. Grambalo, I think you actually sent this to me from Instagram, when Mikel Antonio on the contract that West Ham offered him after he recovered from the car crash.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I'm just gonna read it right now. He was saying, Karen Brady, I think it's the football director of West Ham, or I don't know what his role is. He said, it's a she. She offered me a 5K a week. This is someone who was probably on 180 or 150K a week before his accident. Yeah. So in essence, you're only valuable if you can play. So she offered me 5K a week with the under 21s. 21. And mind you, how can you offer? He said, how can you offer that when the under 21s are on more than that? So this is someone who has given 10 years of his life to West Ham. He has been their best striker for the past 10 years. He goes, he gets himself in an accident, and after the accident, I mean, props to West Ham for taking care of him. But then he gets offered 5K a week. Just imagine, from 150, 180 to 5K a week with the under 21s who are earning more than that. I mean, we all know how much the guys in the Premier League, the under 21s are earning. They earn more than 5,000 a week. And her response, listen to her response. She said, well, they haven't been in a car crash and they haven't shattered their leg. So, to answer your question, Grambalo, you are only valuable if you can play. If you cannot play, forget it. If you don't get it, forget it.
About it. So yeah, it's that's on the page. That's on the side of the management. They 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 only see your value as far as you can perform. That is why
Right.
we have players like Vinicius Junior requesting for 500,000, 500K. Is it monthly or weekly?
Monthly.
They deserve it. They deserve it. Use it
500K a
while
week. He deserves it.
use that opportunity when you can. When you can. Because when you cannot perform anymore, the management forgets about you. And the smallest consolation you can get is from the fans, but fans don't give you the money. Management pays you the money. Management pays you the money. And we easily forget. Us, the fans, we easily forget because players come up every day. Players come up every day. That is why you find some players being disrespected, some legends being disrespected online because of banter. Some new player comes up every day, some new day and does some very fantastic thing on the pitch, and you quickly forget that there was someone yesterday who was controlling that same spot. You know, we easily forget. We easily
But
forget.
again, let's not forget, not everyone is the same. There are players who are special. There are players
Yes.
who are special.
No,
The
no, no,
likes
no,
of
no, no.
Neymar, who he's probably injured most of the time, but he's Neymar, and just his name
Bro, people
brings
still choose to
brands for
disrespect
him.
Neymar recently. People still
So
there are people who want to disrespect Neymar. Forgetting
so
he is football. We forget that Neymar was. When you look at Neymar, you see football. But there are people who still want to disrespect Neymar, who still want to forget who Neymar was because he cannot perform anymore. Because he's maybe not because he cannot perform anymore, maybe his performance has dropped a little. And people want to disrespect him because judging him from his presence, forgetting what he did in the past. So we
Yeah.
my conclusion is we forget. People forget.
yeah.
People do
But
forget
my point,
easily.
the point I was trying to make in mentioning Neymar was that Balo's question was, does football forget players easily? And linking it
Yeah.
to us talking about getting injured and not being able to make a living from football. It doesn't happen to everyone. Neymar can be injured for the next 50 years. He will still have money because his name, he had
It's
that
money.
star, he had the
It's
grace.
money.
It made his name is money.
Gives
And not everyone is Neymar. So my advice to guys who are coming up who have the dream to play football, while you are chasing your dream, before you get to the top, while you are chasing your dream, think about what comes after football,
Yeah.
side by side. So I'll give a shout out to one of my elder bros, Grand Kevo Santana. You know Grand Kevo.
Mm-hmm.
Before I left Cameroon, Grand Kevo, his one advice to me was, no matter what I do, even if I go to play for Manchester United, I should never abandon my education. That was his advice to me. And it paid off because I got injured and I couldn't play football anymore. So just imagine if I had quit school, if I had abandoned school, what would have become of me? So big shout out to Grand Kevo. And yeah, guys, whoever is watching, you're coming up. We are not stopping you from chasing your dream. Of course, pursue your dreams, work hard, be disciplined, stay the course, but think about what
Education.
comes. Education is very important, not just
Yeah.
going to school or not
Because
just
even
knowing
when
how
you're
to
playing
read.
football,
Think about
if you're not
what you would
educated,
do
you will
with the
not be able
skill.
to.
Exactly. So, yeah, we've been talking, we've been having so much important points, and I just want to remind you guys again, and whoever will be watching, this podcast exists because of stories like this. And life itself is fragile, talk less of football. And because football becomes a part of you and you wake up every day, it's your job and it can be taken away in an instant. So we've all seen all through the years how fragile a football career is. And we've all seen, like, in a second, a 20-year career can be destroyed. So
Right.
my next point of conversation is, do you guys think that, I don't know, and that's why I'm really asking, do you guys think academies all over the world, let's not focus on Europe because we've seen so many horrible situations which we don't have to mention, but do you guys think that academies prepare young players for life after football? And if they don't, how can they prepare young players for life after football? What should be done?
Bro, the thing is, the truth is, academics put on so much focus on producing professionals. They don't prepare them for life uncertainties. It's business. We need to understand that football is all about business. When you're active, you are valuable. When you are not active, bro, there are 10,000 players available for that same position. So I think football, like we said in our previous podcast, we said something about football being just about business. That's how the academics runs. It's about producing professionals. That's what they do. Produce professionals, sell, make profits. Whatever you do with your life uncertainties, that's your business. I don't think, that's why I think it's always good to always like educate yourself while making money. That should be your own personal initiative. Like, if you're educated, you know when you're making money, if I'm making this kind of money, there are businesses I could invest on. It's not for the academic to tell you what to do, bro. That's you. You should know what to do with your money. That's why you should be educated.
No, but sorry, Santana. But before, Balo, I think the academies, when we talk about academy, we talk about guys who are 12, 10, 11, 12, 13. They are still kids. They don't even know how the real world looks like. They don't even know how the real world works. And you see, that's why you see situations where when you hear that a kid has been dumped by a football academy, life starts getting harder because now they don't know how to go or which way to go because all they were thinking about was football. So I'm thinking the academies can do more, or should it be like, because we all know that it's all about money. It's all about money, like even now at the level of FIFA. But then I'm thinking, like, from experience and from everything we have seen so far, it will be a good thing if FIFA could impose some rules on academies. Like, apart from teaching these guys, apart from training these guys to become professionals tomorrow, education should be also at the forefront. Like, what if you get injured? What happens after football? Because let's not forget that before you talked about investing. It's very important, but that's already for players who are out of the academies and who are already professionals. We are talking about guys who are 10, 11, 12, who are still fighting.
We need to understand that most of these kids, they go to school while playing football. Most of these young kids, 5 years, 10, 5, 6, 7, they go to school. They are on scholarship. They go to school while playing football. I think you being educated while playing football, you should know why you're going to school. You're not just going to school because you want to know how to spell. You are going. That's, I think, outside football. That's why their college academic needs to help. I think that's not supposed to be on the academic. You going to school. That's why you get educated to know
No,
what
Balo,
you're supposed
Gambalo, I would like to differ a little. I feel like football, apart from being a game for entertainment, it is also a career. It builds it's supposed to build. It's a career for some people, and an academy which is kind of in the middle, which is building players who are to sell out there. If which means if it doesn't go as a, if it doesn't work as you being a footballer, then they should also prepare you for something else. They should also prepare you for something else. I'm saying this. Okay, I'm putting on a Yosa jersey. This is Young Sport Academy. This is an establishment owned by. This is a club, football club owned, used to be owned by Bobby Young Francis. May his soul rest in perfect peace. He had a school. He owned a school. He owned schools. Progressive being one of them. National Polytechnic being one of them. Now, players in those academy, I used to be classmates with players in his academy. Some stayed in the academy itself, like the establishment built the academy dorms. They lived there. They left from there, came to class.
Santana, let me cut you short before you continue. I think it's normal for academic students that are playing football. They do attend their normal studies, school curriculum. That's normal everywhere, like in Europe.
The difference is that they push they push on the students to look for, to maybe select another career apart from football, preparing them for another career apart from just football. We are focusing on them. Okay, if we say academy, maybe we think it's just okay. Since it's a football academy, they should prioritize just football. No, I think the academies now should maybe try to strike a balance. That it's a football academy, yes, not the club itself, not the professional club itself. It means you're not playing professional football, which means that if it does not work out as football, if you're not good enough to be sold out as a professional player, it means there should be something else kept for you, something else you must have been prepared for. I think academy should work on this. Like Rashford was still in the youth team, and he was taking exams. He was taking his exams in school, and they paid more attention to his schoolwork, not even football. They paid more attention to it. They had to go back. They had to go take permission. I think they were not preparing him for football. They were preparing him for another career somewhere, whatever thing he was studying in school. Football was just a secondary something.
A player from Mexico, Kibeto Mora. After the World Cup, he went back to get his degree.
Yes,
he got his degree after the World Cup. So for me, I think the academics, they are like, it's a pathway. You know, the way we see things in Africa is different, like in Europe and in America. But I think out there in the real world, those academics, like, there is a real path for those players to follow.
Anyways, guys, listen, guys.
When you see the real world, it means we are Africa. Africa is.
I always tell you, we are born in already. The world is against us in Africa. It's an advantage. We are already fighting the battle without even being born.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have players in Africa. 3 years ago or 4 years ago, we used to have players who don't do anything, who sit by the roadside and they sell petrol, and then after they pick up their boots and they go and play football, come back and sell petrol. Well, that's a career, that's a business career, but there are some who just stay home. They don't do anything. They don't think about any kind of business. They don't do anything. It's pathetic. I mean, professional players, I'm not talking about academy. So, but we are pushing on academies to maybe set in careers, maybe criteria for players to choose careers. I mean, they should enforce education and career paths for players.
Yeah.
I think they should push on
like this is something that is it's new just to football, because when you look at the education system in the United States, all these guys who make it to the NBA or to the NFL, when they are in high school, you see most of them are on scholarship. And when we watch even American movies, you see like most of the coaches don't allow you on their team unless you have good results, which means
Bro,
education. They know
90%
how important.
of those NBA players are drafted from college. 90%.
Exactly, 90%.
Yeah.
So
Just like
it's
5%
this.
comes from overseas. Like
Yeah,
90%, 95% are drafted from college.
from college. So this
Yeah.
is something that football FIFA needs to do something in this in the like in this light, because if you look at when you see, for example, when you see stories like the one of Nouri, which was the main point of the podcast today, and some other stories we've seen, and uh, it's rare to see stories like this in the NFL or in the NBA, because before most of them even make it to the NBA, they have career paths.
Yeah.
That's why
That's
those
true.
who are not drafted, even if they don't end up in the NBA, they have career paths. So the point I was trying to make, or my question was probably maybe Grambalo did not really understand, even though we all know that academies have the guys, when they wake up in the morning, they go to school, and then maybe after they go to play football. But going to school is not actually getting a career path. There's a difference. So my thing was FIFA or whatever football bodies that are in charge of the football in different countries. If you set up an academy, it should be a rule that the players, the kids in these academies, apart from fighting or dreaming to become football players, there should be a clear career path which is set for them in case it doesn't work out with football. Because we've seen so many stories in England where players are dumped from the academies. I think he was sent away from the Arsenal academy, if I'm not mistaken. But he ended up signing with Arsenal. Maybe I'm mistaken. He wasn't good enough for the academy. So just imagine if he had given up, So anyway, guys,
Bro, I get your point. I want to ask you something. What about the
yeah.
kids that, like, agents come to Africa and pick them on the street playing football? Who's gonna give them a career path?
Bro,
If they come to Africa, maybe
that's the
we meet
difference.
these kids playing football. They are already 17. They are ready to get into the first team football without no education.
That's why we were talking. The conversation was centered around academies. Yeah,
Okay.
not everyone has the chance to go. Me and you, we did not go to any
Right.
academy.
Now I understand your question.
Yeah, we grew up playing on the street, bro. We played on the street. We played, and we did not go to the academy. So it was focused on the academies, because, the difference between guys like us who grew up on the streets is we already knew that, okay, we are not in the academy, so we have to forge two different paths. That's why I did not quit school. But for guys who are in the academies, most of them think that because they are there, it's only football, nothing else. So that was the point. And
But
anyway,
it's quite
guys,
unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. Most of the academies are out for business, not even out to build the players. So
yeah. So we've gone past the 1 hour mark, and we are rounding up. So I'm going to ask you guys now. Let's say Nouri is watching this podcast, or his family is watching. Just in 1 minute, what will you tell Nouri? Guys, Santana, you first.
come again. Say that again.
Let's say Nouri was watching this podcast, or he's going to watch this podcast now, and you want to give him a word of encouragement. And what would you tell him? 1 minute.
First things first, he was an inspiration to so many, though he passed on very, very young. And to say that if there's any other person out there who who has lost hope, because of anything, because of something that happened to someone. Example, Nouri's case, I would say don't give up, because that is part of life. That is part of life. Nouri believed in everything he did. He gave in his all. Life just decided to leave him when it did. Not because he did something wrong. It was just life. And I would say the videos I'm watching, and to say he was the Young's captain means he had something better than the Young. Would have been seen a phenomenal footballer right now, but it happens. So I'm happy I happen to have watched his videos, or happen to have gone through his situation, his case, and see the wonders he did in his time. But I'll use this opportunity to encourage, I'll use his case to encourage every other player out there not to give up on their dreams, and to believe, but not forgetting that life has two pages. Could be positive.
That's right.
And could be negative.
That's
Yeah. Balo, your turn.
well, to Nouri, the football world never forgets you. Your story reminds us that every JC is a human being with dreams. We hope that your legacy continues to make football safer and more compassionate. Thank you for inspiring us. And to everyone watching us, remember, football is a beautiful game, but life will always be more important.
But before when I said life, I'm talking about the football life. I'm not talking about his life. His
Yeah.
it's his football life. I mean his life as a footballer. His own has ended. His part has ended, but football continues. His contribution to football has ended, and it could end at any point with anybody. And you have to look for a life after that, some other life, not football. So he was an inspiration, and his stories, he would live to tell the stories about his experience, and every other player should use his situation as a reason to maybe work harder and prepare harder for another outcome. But he was
bro, his
I wish
legacy,
he could continue.
forever. You can see
Yeah.
how his Ajax colleagues like Kluivert, they keep on putting on his jersey number 34. Like his legacy will always continue. They're always gonna talk about him, not directly through his stories, but his friends, families. I think it's really a sad story.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, man. If I hope Nouri watches this podcast, or I hope anyone from his family, can watch. So yeah, man. And I wish someday us three we can go sit with Nouri and have a conversation with him. And God bless him, man. That's all I can say. God bless him. God continue to give him the strength. And also, guys, let's not forget his family. Yeah, his family for being there with him all through this. His mom, I don't know if his dad, I don't know about the situation. I don't know if his parents are, around, but anyways, yeah, let's just say his parents. Let's, not forget. Big up his parents, and may God continue to bless them. God continue to give Nouri the strength. And Nouri, man, you inspired a lot of guys. And I see the Kluivert, I see the Young, I see the lead, all your teammates, the respect they have for you says a lot. So, and to the younger guys who'll be watching, especially, we are Africans, so let's talk to Africans. Education is very important. Don't let anyone deceive you. And when I talk about education, it doesn't mean going to class every day. You learn to do something. I don't know, you can be a designer, you can be a plumber, you can be a carpenter, but apart from football, focus on something that will sustain you after your football career. Nobody wishes to get injured, or nobody wishes to have his dream cut short, but life happens. So stay the course, be disciplined, show up and show out, be disciplined, be focused on your dream, and get an education at the same time. Santana, Grambalo, thank you for today's episode. And guys, let's hear in the comments when we post on social media. Talk to us. Who do you want to see on the podcast? Who should we talk about on the podcast? And share the podcast so the world sees, and so young guys who are watching, they see. And yeah, man, Kosi is out there in Morocco doing his thing. Kosi, we see you. We see what you're doing. We are proud of you.
Shout out to
Shout out to
Kosi.
Kosi. Shout out to Kosi.
I'm going to Spain right now. I'm going to go see updates. Updates in Rabat.
Yeah, shout out to Kosi. He's out there in Rabat. Yeah, man. And shout out to Balo as well. Balo will be starting his podcast very soon, the Big Football Podcast. First episode dropping very soon, guys. Be on the watch for it. And until next time. DJ Kim. Shelele.